Both an understanding here with a video. So it's funny how life works in the strangest of ways. Here it is. We got David Avasneezing fighting Jaron Ennis. But the funny thing about it is that when Terrence Crawford went to fight David Avasneezing about a year and a half ago, a lot of people, including Team Ennis, started making fun of this guy, David Avasneezing. They started calling him nicknames like Avasneezing, Avocado, Anesthesia, you name it. They called him every name in the book besides his last name. They were so mad that Crawford took a fight with Avasneezing after coming off a year layoff, and he wanted to get in, for a stay busy fight, because at the time he wanted to take the fight with Errol Spence. But around that same time, it seemed like the PBC was blackballing the mess out of Terrence Crawford by not giving him the fight, by saying, hey, take zero guaranteed and just get the money on the back end and whatnot. And then on top of that, once Terrence Crawford was like, hey, I got investors so we could both get paid the money and stuff, next thing you know, the fight just never got made. So bottom line is this: Crawford went down the line of fighters that he wanted to fight or he was picking to fight, but a lot of these fighters had other plans. They made business decisions, I guess. I don't want to say ducking, but we know what it is when it comes to certain situations. So let's start off with this. Keith Thurman was on the list. He moved out the way. Virgil Ortiz was on the list. He moved out the way. He moved out the way for, this was like the second or third time he moved out the way when it comes to being the mandatory to face Terrence Bud Crawford, but he moved out the way. Jaron Ennis was also on that list, and they decided to go the IBF route. Basically, not even taking a shot with Terrence Crawford. As a matter of fact, afterward, Jaron Ennis beat Castillo Clayton. Who was he calling out? He was calling out Errol Spence. He wasn't calling out no Terrence Crawford. But let's just say, he moved out the way. They went down the list, and finally, once they got down to David Avasneezing, who was in the top 10 for the WBO rankings, he stepped up and took the fight. Even though David Avasneezing was already lined up to fight somebody else at the time, he stepped out. He saw it was an opportunity to get more money and stepped in the ring with Terrence Bud Crawford. Whereas though, a lot of these other top fighters didn't want to do it. So, fast forward, now, after making all, these fun jokes or whatever about Terrence Crawford fighting David Avasneezing, look at Team Ennis. They taking a fight with David Avasneezing. Now, this is a short notice fight. David Avasneezing, it wasn't like he was already scheduled to fight somebody and finally going to step in. Here it is. He's actually stepping in at the last minute due to the fact that Cody Crowley had some, medical issues where it's to the point that he had to pull out the fight. So now David Avasneezing stepped next up. But Team Ennis should be pretty embarrassed right now, because before they was like, nobody know who David Avasneezing is. Why is Terrence Crawford fighting David Avasneezing? Nobody knows this guy. This guy lost to Mean Machine. He was stopped by Mean Machine. Why would Terrence Crawford fight David Avasneezing when he beat Mean Machine and Mean Machine already beat David Avasneezing? Like, they was using triangle theories. They was using anything known to man that you could name, that they were just trying to discredit Terrence Crawford to the point that it was just embarrassing at the minute. You had Bozy talking about he was loyal to Showtime rather than making a fight with Terrence Crawford on a BOK Prime. But he was so loyal to Showtime, and yet at the same time, that whole team was talking shit about Terrence Crawford. They was talking about how Terrence Crawford setting an example for all these young fighters coming up. That's even in his camp, like a Shakur Stevenson and everything. When you didn't take the fight with us. Well, obviously, if you look at it like this, if y'all weren't too loyal to Showtime, then y'all would have taken the fight with Terrence Crawford on BOK Prime, but y'all didn't. Y'all just didn't do it. So all y'all can do is blame yourselves. And on top of that, y'all fighting the same nobody that y'all accused Terrence Crawford of fighting. Y'all getting in the ring with the same nobody. What has David Avasneezing done ever since he lost to Terrence Crawford? He beat a guy with a losing record. That's all he did. The next fight he beat a guy with a losing record. Now, granted, I get it for David Avasneezing. It's, hey, you coming off a loss, you need some type of I guess what you call a tune-up or whatever, or something to get your feet wet again before you step back in the ring with a top contender and stuff. But that's all David Avasneezing has done. So for y'all to say that y'all didn't know who this guy was or nobody knows him, surprised y'all ain't said nobody knows him in Philly, like I said about Conor Ben, but y'all said nobody knows this guy in America. Well, actually, nobody knows this guy at all outside of, I guess, hardcore boxing fans. So, and y'all say this guy was weak. So I will say this: if David Avasneezing puts up a good fight against Boots Ennis, I don't want to hear no excuses about, hey, Boots was just trying to work on some stuff, and he hasn't been in the ring for a while, so we just, he's doing what he was practicing on up in camp. And nah, there's no excuses. I don't want to hear none of that. He should be able to get rid of this guy who's a nobody, get rid of him real quick. And if not, that just looks bad on him. But I ain't even gonna say that. It should already look bad that the fact of the matter that you're actually fighting this guy. It's just too embarrassing at the end of the day. Hypocrites. Y'all should protest to the fact of the matter that y'all shouldn't be fighting this guy, since y'all talk so much shit about David Avasneezing without even pronouncing his last name the right way. But like I said, man, life works in the strangest of ways. Anyway, vote and understanding, rate, comment, and subscribe. And I'm out. Peace.